Jennifer Lawrence, and Josh Hutcherson,
Woody Harrelson,
among others. Now, this movie came out in 2012, and I'm going to be reviewing this movie along with Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1 in preparation for Mockingjay Part 2 coming this November. But I couldn't do it alone, so I brought my incredible friend to do it with me, Tim MacArthur. He's going to be joining with me, and we're going to talk about the Hunger Games. Now, when I say we're going to talk about the Hunger Games, we're going to talk about it in depth, which means spoilers galore. So, if you have not seen it, just keep in mind that some things will be spoiled, and if you haven't seen it, you will, or if you don't care about spoilers,
which case, hey, welcome.
And so, let us dive right in. So, The Hunger Games is based off of the incredibly successful book series
by Suzanne Collins,
who is surprisingly better than Stephanie Meyer.
Everyone's better than Stephanie Meyer.
Very true. And this mythology takes place, this story takes place in the ruins of North America. According to legend, modern society was completely bombed out of their misery, just completely ruined. So, and from the ashes came Pan Am, which consisted of 12 districts. It was originally 13, but one of them rebelled.
Yeah, basically what happened is that the capital was being really oppressive to their districts, and District 13 led the rebellion, but they lost. And as punishment for that, they are forced to compete in a competition known as the Hunger Games, in which is you pluck 2 children from each district, 1 boy and 1 girl, and you just put them into an arena where they fight to the death on live television. And the last one standing gets riches and power and galore and praise and wonder from pretty much every district.
So you can tell that the districts are pretty much the underlings.
Yeah.
So in the story, we mainly focus on Katniss Everdeen, played by the incredible,
the Academy Award-winning, say it together,
Jennifer Lawrence. Katniss Everdeen is a very poor girl. She lives in probably the poorest of the districts, right? District 12. She lost her father in a mining accident. She's basically a mother to her sister, Primrose, who she calls Prim.
Yeah.
Her mother is there, but she's also not there, if that makes sense.
She's kind of there, but basically it's like she's depressed from her father's passing, so it's really difficult for all of them to cope with this loss. But they're able to be content with what they have, even though District 12 is not a very good place at all. I mean, should we describe District 12?
It's basically the slums. People live in close quarters in very, very low-level society, houses made of wood and, whatever they can find, They're hunters and gatherers, pretty much.
Yeah, starvation is commonplace in this district. I mean, people die from starvation all the time. They try to make up lies like, oh, the capital says, they just died from the cold, it's okay, but no, that never fools anyone.
So, the day of the reaping, is it?
Yeah, the reaping, where they choose which boy and girl goes to the games.
And Primrose gets chosen. And, of course, being the love for her sister, she screams out, "I volunteer as tribute!" And so she replaces Primrose, Katniss replaces Primrose to go into the Hunger Games. Now, the boy who is chosen is Peter Millark, played by Josh Hutcherson. Now, the two of them meet for the first time, they get on the train, and they go to the Capitol, where they meet the incredibly alcoholic and, basically playing his real-life persona, Woody Harrelson.
Who is one of the greatest characters in these movies by far. I mean, when he first appears, he's just walking sluggily, he's just like, oh, hey,
got any ice?
Yeah. No ice? Okay. It's like he just slams the glass on it.
Kill it, Toots, he just does not care about anything.
And he just puts his head back and lays his feet on the table, and he's just like, oh, okay, embrace the possibility of your imminent death. And know deep in your heart that there's just nothing I can do to save you,
So it is clear that the alcohol has gone to his brain.
Yeah, obviously for legitimate reasons.
So they get to the Capitol, and they they go through their training, which is pretty strenuous.
Yeah.
It's not only physical, but it's mental, and it's also environmental too. And we see, which comes back into play later on, PETA making this urban camouflage.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, which was really cool. I thought, like, he turns his hand into tree bark, and he uses it as like camouflage, and which comes back into play later on. So, and then the rest of like the first act, you could say, is pretty much just like not exactly montages, but just
It's like subtle build up to what is sure to be a bloody event. Like the games is, but basically the Hunger Games is like supposed to be this thing you're terrified of, which is meant to be because the Capitol wants you to be scared of this competition, so they can keep what they call "quote unquote" the peace.
And then near the end of like the first act, going into the Hunger Games, my favorite scene happens where you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
PETA and Katniss are sitting in their apartment. Well, not exactly their apartment, but their apartment provided to them by the Capitol.
Yeah.
And PETA says what I think sums up perfectly this trilogy. He says, and this is a butchery, but somehow I don't want them to take away me.
Yeah, if I'm gonna die, I just want to be me, just be myself. I mean, I'll have to kill when I get the chance or when I must, but I just want to be me when I go. And that is so tragic because, as we'll discuss in later reviews in Mockingjay Part 1, something happens to PETA that completely contradicts what he says, and it's really, really tragic. So, but we'll discuss that in other videos.
So then we get to the Hunger Games part, and I think the lowest part of this movie.
Yeah.
They all rise up on their platforms,
and
it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shaky cam everywhere, and it is crazy. It is just like whoa, 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 whoa,
It's like
oh my god, there's so much blood.
Okay, let's stop. This MacBook is
that's what we were feeling like when the movie was like.
Yeah, let's stop. This MacBook is expensive. But yeah, the shaky cam was completely out of control. I mean,
well, not really. Sorry for interrupting you, but basically,
no, it's okay.
The shaky cam didn't bother me too much because I kind of liked it in the first half because it created this sense of uncomfortableness, as this is a very uncomfortable world of oppressive governments and bloody competitions and a lot of deceit and lies, and it's a really unpleasant world to be in. And I think the shaky cam portrayed that really well. But then when it got to the action, it sucked.
Yeah, it was completely unnecessary. But
yeah.
But moving on from that, we move on into the games itself. It does get a little slow at parts, but it doesn't get too slow to the point where we're like, okay, can somebody die now, please? We get to the point where Katniss gets injured. She gets burned, and so
a really cool scene. Like she's running from this fire where the Capitol's manipulating the fire, and this is the cool part is that the Capitol uses all these gimmicks and tricks to manipulate certain things to go after these people if they're not fighting each other, so they can gain more ratings and interest in people. Like they can manipulate the fire to go in any direction they want. They can cause it to turn into day and night practically anytime they want. It's really neat technology.
Yeah, and then after she gets the lotion from Haymitch because she bails her out with like the pledges and stuff.
Yeah.
She then drops a whole bunch of what are they called?
Tracker jackers.
Tracker jackers onto like the District 1s and 2s and all of, like the dominant people who are sleeping underneath because they know that she is, the girl on fire. You know,
as they call her, because she has this dress that before the game started, she wore this dress during the tribute parade. I think is that tribute? Tribute parade where she wore this suit that caught into a fake fire, and then she did it again in the interviews with Caesar the day before the Hunger Games, and she trolled around and fires started going around her, and it was a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, but to the rest of the tributes, it was like a weak point. Like, hey, girl on fire, you're not so tough.
Maybe you should throw the sword.
That was actually in the book. I don't think that was in the movie.
It was in the movie.
It was?
Yeah.
I must have missed it. So we finally get through the Tracker Jacker part, and we meet Rue for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, she plays a very important part in this movie, not only for this movie, but for the rest of the trilogy, I think.
Yeah.
Because she and Katniss become very good friends, and spoiler alert, she dies.
In a really sad way. I mean, you don't see it coming.
Yeah, they drag it out too. Like she gets the spear stuck in her, and she dies like really slow.
And
Like,
she's a child, like 12 years old. I think.
yeah, she's like 12, and like they're sending her into the Hunger Games, and it was at this point where I thought, man, these guys are just these guys need to go down. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like the Capitol needs to say like see ya, you know.
This was, I agree with you completely. Like, I wasn't too like, oh, there's something we can do because the Capitol is too overpowering. But this was the point in the movie where I was thinking to myself, you know what? Who cares? The Capitol needs to go down, whatever the cost.
Yeah. We've passed the point of not caring anymore. Like, we do not care how much we lose anymore. We need to take these guys out for good.
And considering that this is not the first time that this has happened, because this is going on for 74 years at this point.
At least.
Yeah. And this is what I like about these movies is that, is that much like Attack on Titan and Harry Potter and even Game of Thrones, in these movies, anybody can die. The plot armor is virtually non-existent, except for, like, I guess Katniss and Verdine and maybe Peeta.
Yeah, like
Literally anybody can die.
With it's Katniss, Peeta, and maybe Gale, but everyone else
kind of Haymitch, not really, but still.
Everyone else is fair game.
Yeah, like
so. Fine. So we get past the Rue part, which is really like gut wrenching, and
the music is great too.
Yeah, the music is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We come to learn that District 11, is it?
Yeah, 11.
District 11 has turned their backs on the Capitol. They've started like revolting because Katniss did this, to the screen. They saw it.
That's why was a limitation.
And they saw it, and they're like, all right, that's a signal. We don't care anymore. They start pushing over things and wrecking stuff, and soon the game makers are like, well, what are we gonna do? The attention's off the games now. And Haymitch comes in, and he's like, we've got an intimate love story on our hands. Let's focus on that. Let's give something to root for. So it is announced that if two winners from the same district, the boy and the girl from the same district, remain alive, then both of those kids can win the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So
or do they? Yeah, we'll explain it later.
So she goes to find Peeta.
As you'd expect, he's injured by the other tributes. I mean, we kind of knew that from the very beginning.
Yeah, he gets like hit by a sword, and things like that. And
it looks pretty gruesome too. I mean, for a PG-13 rating, there's points in the movie where it pushes the limit. This is one of them. Like, you see the gash and the blood.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking really. It looks real too. Like, they don't play it up for like gimmicks and stuff like that. No, it looks real. He looks really hurt.
And so it is announced through like the loudspeakers that, hey, we're having a banquet of something you need, Mm-hmm. And so Peeta's like, Katniss, don't go. It's a trap. He does the Admiral Akbar thing.
Yeah.
But
Admiral Akbar?
From Star Wars 6.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
But Katniss is like, no, you're dying, I have to go. So they go back and forth. He falls asleep, but she promised she wouldn't go. But then she's like, oh, well, he's asleep, I guess I'll go. So
necessary sacrifices calls for, necessary sacrifices.
That is true. So then she goes to the table where they have, actually the cornucopia, where they have the 4 bags of the districts that need it.
Yeah.
And the one girl from, I don't know which district, but attacks Katniss, and she does the thing where instead of killing her, she just, monologues for 5 minutes, you're not the girl on fire, you're nothing.
Was she the girl from Orphan?
I don't know.
I think she was.
I never saw that movie.
That was a good movie. But back to focus.
So then the guy from 11 comes, kills her,
beats her, smacks her head across the metal.
And she's like...
No. Doesn't smack across the metal. Smacks her across the metal like this, because the darn guy can't hold the camera still.
Yeah. And then he's like, only this once, 12, for Rue. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, loyalty, I like it.
Yeah, like legitimate loyalty, not BS loyalty where, fine, I'll help you out. So then Peeta gets healed because he gets the cream from the bag. Yeah.
And and then they move out. And the last act of the movie
is the worst part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, all the dead tributes are turned into, like, these dogs.
Yeah, mutts, pretty much. Even Rue's one of them.
Yeah, like, they have these collars around the neck. They're basically the dead tributes. And
Which was so creepy.
Yeah, and they chase the remaining tributes to the cornucopia, and they're surrounding, like, the cornucopia. They're standing on top of it. It's Pete and Katniss and the guy from 2, who's actually gotten a lot of work.
And the worst part of this scene is that you can't see anything because A, the camera shakes way too much. Even for my own sake, it shakes too much. And B, it's all shot in the dark, so you can't see anything.
Yeah, like, shaky cam in dark is like oil and water.
You just can't do it. No, it's not oil. Is it oil and water?
It is oil and water.
Yeah, it's not oil and gasoline, but whatever.
So then, the guy from 2 has Peeta
in a headlock.
In a headlock with like a sword to his throat, and he's like, "I will do anything for my district." And so then Katniss is like, "All right, you're dead." Shoots him in the head, falls to the ground, gets eaten by the mutts.
Well, no. The cool part is that Peeta points where to shoot on the arm because he's not dumb. He's not a dumb damsel in distress. He just is like, he knows, shoot him, and Katniss is like, oh.
And then dead.
Yeah.
So, and finally, like, the second to last, like, little thing is that then it's announced that only one winner can exist. And so then Katniss is like, "All right, I'm not leaving you. Let's just take ourselves out." You know, they take these little berries and they're like, "All right, we got nothing to lose. We're going together." And then just as the berries touch their lips, they're like, "Stop!
Cease! Desist!"
Ladies and gentlemen, here is your winner of the 74th annual Hunger Games. And then that just sets off the rest of the trilogy right there.
Pretty much. That's that one event. Jump-started everything. It sparked the fire, as they say. And then the Capitol's really mad because they think this will start rebelling, which it does eventually.
Yeah, and one of the most important lines that in this entire trilogy, I think, is when Donald Sutherland is in the garden talking to the weirded beard guy.
That double beard guy.
Yeah, and he's like, "Do you know what the most dangerous weapon in the world is?"
What it is? What is it?
It's hope. Because hope is the only thing that's stronger than fear. A little hope is necessary. A lot of hope is dangerous.
Spark is fine.
As long as it is contained.
And
so contain it.
Yes.
But unfortunately, this spark would not be contained.
No.
As we've seen in the next two movies. So,
or 3, because part 2.
Well, yeah. So, in overall analysis, The Hunger Games is probably, it's got some good parts.
Oh, yeah.
But the shaky cam just kind of turned me off. Not too much, but just to a point where it's like, oh boy, this is giving me a migraine, you know? So, I would say that the Hunger Games, I think it deserves a 4 out of 5 stars. At the very least.
Yeah. I'm a little warmer towards it because I love the world of the Capitol. Like, it's a gorgeous looking place. And the thing I like about the Capitol is that it's this beautiful looking city, and yet all these people look hideous because of this over-the-top makeup. It's like they try to look so glamorous and so pretty and so beautiful that they just look hideous. I love that. I think that's a great commentary on product placements and beauty stuff and all that. And the coolest thing about the first half is that, like I mentioned before, the shaky cam helps you create this uncomfortable atmosphere, which was necessary because, again, it's an unpleasant world. But once that second half came on with the games, it completely ruins the whole thing. And there's some moments where it just drags, and it actually does make me like the movie less. But the first half I think is really great. I love the build up to the games. It's funny because in the book, it's sort of like Deathly Hallows in that sense. Is that in the movie I liked the first half more than I did the second half, and in the book I liked the second half more than I did the first half. In Deathly Hallows, like the reverse, but whatever. But
so, have you guys seen The Hunger Games? Well, that's a stupid question. What did you think about it? Leave a comment below telling me what you think. And also give a shout out to my boy, the TIM-inator. Please leave a like on this video. And also comment and subscribe. And follow me on all my social media accounts. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you on the flip side.